Great. We're off to a great start here, okay? And Coach, you might need to help me with who I really need to roast here in just a little bit. We're going to have some fun. So here's kind of the format. And I do these all over the country and speak to schools, coaches, etc. We're going to go about 45 minutes of like formal like presentation. And then I'll stay here as long as you can, and I'll answer every question you got, okay? And there's not a question that you can't ask me that I've probably not heard about a million times, okay? So this will be, normally we'll go about 30 minutes of just open Q&A. It's open for parents and guys and girls, okay? So ask away, have some fun, and we'll try to make this fairly interactive as we go. I'm going to try to do this and see it. Oh, all right, so a little bit about me. I won't read my whole bio. I'm an Oklahoma City guy. I kind of pride myself on knowing and understanding the world of college recruiting through the lens of Oklahoma high school football. Okay, so I've had stints in multiple sports. I've worked in professional baseball, worked at the Division I level, started a college football program at Southern Nazarene down the street. So I have been there, done that. I served as Gary Patterson's director of recruiting at TCU. So, all you guys who want to play on ESPN, been there, done that. Got the badge, got the shirt, got their brains. I should have brought my bowl rings, okay? So, been there, done that, okay? I've also worked for national third-party evaluators. So, I've actually evaluated guys that, or worked for companies that actually built out evaluation companies that evaluate talent for the Nick Sabans, the Chip Kellys, those kind of guys around the country, okay? So there are paid third parties that actually do this, and I've actually built some of those companies, okay? So I've got a long history working in the world of sports, and tonight I'm going to try to, in an hour, try to boil that down, a very complex topic for all of you guys. So with that, let's get started. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go through and do a little bit of Mythbusters, talk about kind of the problem and the complexity of recruiting to kind of baseline. I'm going to give you some facts and figures, probably a little shock and awe tonight because if you haven't really looked at the data that comes with it, and this is ever evolving, I'm going to go through that to begin, and then I'm going to walk you through like how do we attack it? How do we attack recruiting? Some of this, I was talking to Coach, I'm sure you've been through it, but I'm going to reinforce that tonight for all of you guys, all of the coaches that are in the room. Most of this you coaches feel free to wave a hanky sometime during the session tonight because I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader as we go through this, okay? And then we'll answer some questions. I'll give you guys all of my contact information. I will say this, when we get done, as I'm answering questions, you guys feel free to come up to me, Coach Fearbone, Coach Schellenberger, Coach Hall, etc. I will answer questions, I'm sure. If you want me to follow up with you, I'm not here to give like some big sales pitch, but if you want me to follow up or you want to be on my newsletter mailing list, there is a little card on that table there. You can just put your information, your email, or you can write your name and say, please follow up with me, and I will call you sometime this week to have a one-on-one conversation. So for you parents that want more information, that's a way to do that. All right, plug is over. Let's start with this. Recruiting is stinking complicated. Okay, and it is getting more complicated by the day. This is just a smattering of things that go into recruiting and kind of just a word cloud of things that I try to, that come up on my timeline on Twitter, things that I think about from admissions process to financial aid to offers, commitments, the NCAA sliding scale and compliance, the transfer portal, NIL, commitments, junior days, official visits, unofficial visits, game day visits, huddle, just loads of things that come up. And for many of you, it'll be the only, or for many of you parents, probably the first time you've ever been through this. So it's like a lot of things. I remember the first time I bought a house. I remember the first time I bought a car. I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. Guess what, parents? It's okay. And guess what, guys? It's okay to admit that you don't exactly know what you're doing either, okay? That's where your trusted experts, your coaches, other adults that can help you. There are people around you, and why they're doing this session here at Piedmont is a step to try to help get you educated. I'm going to talk about empowering yourself and getting educated here in just a minute, okay? This is getting more complicated by the day. Right now, you're seeing super seniors with COVID. You're seeing the transfer portal impact high school recruiting. Most football, we've got a lot of football guys in the room, right? Okay, so I'm going to touch on football here for just a minute. Most football recruiting directors would tell you the number of scholarships that are available for high school student athletes at the Division I level is down 30%. That, on top of the amount of scholarships available for Division I, is 2% in the country. There are 1.1 million guys that play high school football in the United States, and 2% of them play at the Division I level, or get recruited to play at the Division I level. And of that 2%, it is now down 30%, okay? That is not trending in the right direction. Sorry to, shock you, she's got bug eyes at me right now. Sorry, Mom. But, I'm preaching the truth, right, Coach? Nothing I'm saying is wrong here so far, okay? I probably will screw up, and he will tell me when I do, okay? This is getting more complicated. So a couple of myths. I just put a few myths up here. I don't even remember what all I put up here, but I put this up here last night thinking, here's some myths that happen that I hear about. Let's see here. Academics don't matter. No big deal. I can just scoot by. I don't need to go to a weight room. I don't need to work out in the off season. Parents can do it for my kid. I can do it for my kid. He doesn't need to do anything. I can do it for him. What's another one? I don't need to worry about the transfer portal. Everybody goes Division I. I've heard all of these things over the years. I'm gonna tell you, this is garbage. Okay, these are myths. Okay, let me be really clear. If you believe this, you guys are. This is not truthful. Okay, clearly want to make sure this is stated as a myth today. So, how do we overcome that? What's the data behind this? And I'm going to give you a couple of things to kind of level set the situation. All right, so this is a little fuzzy when you look at this, and I can send this to anybody, but this is straight off the NCAA website. Coach has probably seen this a million times. There's a row about the fourth one down that says 1.093. That's 1.1 million football guys. If you play another sport, I apologize, it's cut off here on the left. I can send you the slide, or I can send you the actual graph, or I can post it on Twitter if you guys want it. And so every sport has data behind it, but it basically says the number of high school participants. You'll see the number of NCAA participants, and then you can do the percentages, okay? So the one element that I want everybody to understand tonight and today is that less than 10% of student athletes that are sitting right here will go on to play college sports. That's what the math says around the country, okay? Now, some kids don't want to play, and that's totally fine, okay? I got a daughter in drama. She's at Westmore. She played varsity tennis, freshman. We're not playing tennis in college, okay? She's going to do something totally different. So, and that's okay, okay? But the average around the country is about 10%, less than 10%. It's really 7% in the NCAA, but when you figure in junior college sports, which is specifically in baseball, is a big deal, and when you consider postgraduate schools, which is really not popular in the middle part of the United States, but very popular in the East and West Coast. It's basically like your 13th year of school, undergrad, or secondary education. And then you think of things like the NAIA. I kind of loosely just say it's less than 10%, okay? So that's important to kind of understand as we think about kind of what are we trying to kind of overcome, okay? The second thing is that because there's so many different levels, and I'm going to walk through that here in just a little bit, right? You have major college Division I, the Oklahomas, the Oklahoma State, the USCs. I'm sure we got some Lincoln Riley fans in the room. Alabamas, the Tennessees, whatever it may be, okay? That's the highest level of intercollegiate athletics that you can possibly go. In that case, that's Division I, okay? We're all really familiar with that. In certain sports, like football, you actually have another level of Division I, which is called FCS, Football Championship Subdivision. And that's schools like Abilene Christian, and Colorado, and Missouri State, and Lamar, and Princeton, and Cal Poly and North Dakota State and so on and so on and so on, okay? In basketball, as an example, they have 350 Division I programs, okay? You probably didn't even realize it was that many. In football, they have 140 in Division I, as an example, okay? So there's all sorts of little uniquenesses to every sport, depending on the sport that you play and how you go about it. You have Division II, okay? The UCOs, the Southwesterns, the Oklahoma Baptists, the Southeasterns, the East Centrals, Northwest Missouri states, the Pittsburgh states. These are all really fine Division II schools, some of them public, some of them private. And when you get into many of your Division II and the NAI and so forth, most, if not all of those, do not offer full athletic scholarships, okay? It's a portion. It's 25%, 50%, 75%, okay? And the balance is either coming out of your checkbook or it's coming through academic money, depending on your situation, okay? All right? And we can talk about all sorts of scenarios with all of that, okay? And then, as I mentioned earlier, okay, especially in football, but really in every sport, you're seeing a pretty dramatic impact of the one-time transfer rule. So a little over a year ago, this has been pretty heavily publicized at this point in time, but up until a year ago, when you transferred, and let's say something happened or you weren't playing or whatever the scenario was, if you transferred from Tennessee to Mississippi State as an example, you had to sit out a year, okay? About a year and a half ago, they changed that to where you could have an immediate one-time transfer where you could be eligible to play. And so if you are the coaches, boy, it's really easy to kind of fix your roster with older players. And just like you, they're in a profession, their job's on the line, and so it's easier for them to say, that kid played for 3 years at Tennessee. I think I might like him better than the high school soon-to-be senior that's never played, and we have no idea if he's going to flunk out of school, adjust to school, be away from home. Mommy's not there to hold his laundry on Sundays, all those types of things. And so and we're kind of in a microwavable generation, and transfer portal has some impacts to that. And so this is all kind of reality that we're dealing with right now. And again, I'm kind of throwing a bunch at you, but I'm doing this to kind of set the context, okay? Not to scare you, because I'm going to give you some pointers on how do we overcome this and how do we tackle this. But if you don't understand the baseline of what we're dealing with here, it's hard to understand what to actually do to overcome some of these types of things. And I'm going to give you some tips and some tricks on some things that you can do to kind of put yourself in the best possible spot through this, okay? All right, I'm going to take one quick question. Anybody got a question on this slide before I go forward? Coach, am I doing all right? Okay. Watch the coach, because you don't want to make sure he's good to go. All right, so let's start with the first one. So I'm a big believer in this, okay? If you play high school sports at a pretty large school here in Oklahoma, let's say 4A, 5A, 6A school in the state of Oklahoma, there's an opportunity for you to play likely somewhere. If you're a starter at one of those high schools, there's an opportunity to play somewhere. Okay? It may not be at Oklahoma, but there's absolutely an opportunity to potentially play somewhere. That might be at Northern Oklahoma and Tonkawa, or it might be at Connor State, or it might be at Western Junior College in Altus, but there's a place to play somewhere if you are a 1 or 2 year starter at a 4A, 5A, 6A school in the state of Oklahoma. So let me start there, okay? Now, when I say be realistic, what I mean by that is if you go off of the data that I just showed you, it means that not every kid's going to play at Oklahoma. Not every kid's going to go get an opportunity to play at Tulsa, or might not even be good enough to play at Southwestern or UCO. I can tell you right now, if the coach was to sign you guys, put you guys in pads right now and have you go out to spring football at UCO, they beat the snot out of you guys right now. Okay, it's a big jump, like a huge jump. Okay, because those are big dudes, right? And they're 2 or 3, 4 years older than you. They're recruiting guys out of the transfer portal. Like, it's a big, big jump that goes with that. Okay, so the first thing I tell you is, I get it. Like, I watch College Game Day religiously, 8 a.m. I'm flipping watching it on Saturday mornings during the fall. Love football. I love sports guy. I've worked on a college campus. I get it. But I would tell all of you guys is be realistic, okay? And how you become realistic is you're being the very best player that you can be where you're at right now, okay? So you need to be the best Wildcat that you can be, and you need to be doing everything that your coaches tell you to do in the moment that you're at right this minute. And I'm sure, I haven't had this conversation, but I would guess that every one of you guys had an exit interview after the season, right? You met with coach, he said, well, Johnny, you did this, and you need to get better at this, you need to do good in school, and all those kinds of things, right? Everybody have that conversation? Some things to do, get bigger, get faster, get stronger, get tougher, learn the playbook, do better in school, right? Coach, we had that with every single player, right? All right. So, as you get older, some of you guys will then have the conversation about, hey, coach, I think I want to try to play somewhere in college. And coach is going to give you another set of instructions on this is what it's going to take. This is how you get better. This is where I think this is the level of play that I think that you can play because how long have you been coaching, coach? 20 years. Okay, we got some other coaches in the room, right? And we have some other coaches. How long have you been coaching? You've seen some guys, right? And girls. Okay? How long have you been coaching? You got some players in college, right? So you have like a perspective, and so you can say, little Johnny, you, in my brain, he compares to, you know, Billy, who I had 10 years ago, right? You kind of mentally can do that, right? I just want all these guys to understand, I know you can do that, but I'm telling them. That's how coaches do this. Like, okay, you have a we can compare you to somebody who played, whether it was here or at many other, all these coaches have played, they've coached at other places, so they've got other guys, and they've got a network of coaches that they can leverage as well, okay? So, when you get a little older, some of you guys might be getting ready to be a senior, and you can start to have that conversation about, I want to try to play in college, or, you know, coach, what's it take, what do I got to get better at, what do I got to improve at, all that will align to what you're doing here at Piedmont. But they can also say, hey, I think you can play at Pittsburgh State. Or I think, you know, we need to look at Tulsa. Or we need to look at, maybe you can play at Oklahoma State. Or maybe you can play at Notre Dame. I don't know. But they'll have a good idea. So I tell you guys, at the right time, not during season, dear God, not during season, but in the off season, as you guys are getting better and doing the things that you got to do and part of your process that should be a conversation, and coach will tell you, but that should be a conversation that you should be having with your coaches as you get a little bit older, because they'll tell you where you line up, okay? All right, but be realistic, because there are different levels of playing ball, okay? Last time I checked, I don't really care you guys like to eat, right? So do you care who pays for dinner tonight? Okay, this is when you nod up or down or side to side. If you like to eat, do you care if somebody's going to pay for your meal? Do you care who pays? Okay, so you just don't want to pay for it. You'd like somebody else to pay for it. Okay, so think of college the same way. Do you care who pays for it? Well, I mean, we all have pride. You all want to play at the best place and possibly play. If you got an opportunity to go to Southwestern in Weatherford, and they were going to pay for 3/4 of your school, and you were going to have to pay, maybe in a given year, $3,000 or $4,000, or you had to go to UCO and pay $15,000 a year, which would you choose? I don't know. Maybe you got more money than I do. I'm just saying, like, again, back to the food analogy, like, they're paying for your dinner. So let's, you know. So I use analogies like that to try to make it mentally sink in for high school guys. Parents will get it because it's your checkbook. You get it. But I try to kind of like concretely make it make sense that if you guys are doing the right things, you're doing the things your coaches are telling you to do, there's an opportunity. But you got to be realistic, okay? Because, you know, only a percentage of you guys are going to get a chance to play on ESPN. And God bless, I hope that all of you do. The reality is that most of you probably won't. And that's okay. Like, it's really okay, because most guys don't, okay? All right, parents, you're not putting money back, whatever it is, put double whatever you're putting back, because it ain't enough, okay? And I'm in the same boat, because I got a 17-year-old junior in high school, okay, and I'm going, oh, dear Lord, okay? College is going up exponentially. Cost of college is going up faster than inflation is going up right now, okay? So if you're not putting money back, double down, whatever you can do, plan ahead, and then, guys, if, how many of you guys have taken the ACT yet? Okay. How many of you are juniors but haven't taken the ACT? Okay. How many are sophomores? Okay. And then how many are freshmen? Okay. So we got a bunch of young bucks in the room. Okay, good. All right. All of you juniors should have taken ACT by now. Okay. My daughter took it today. A lot of guys will say, well, academic test scores don't matter anymore. Not so fast, okay? We're still in a period right now where aid is given out based on a lot of schools, not every school. So I can give you a good example of where it's not, but in many, many schools still today, aid is doled out based on your test score, primarily. Now, some of them are doing it off of your GPA, like Arkansas Tech is a good example where they just said, hey, if you get 4.0, it's $10,000 a year. Giddy up. You got a 375, it's $7,500 a year. Okay? So they're kind of going away from the test score kind of type of thing, which is great for a lot of guys, because a lot of kids aren't great test takers. I wasn't a great test taker. My daughter's not a great test taker. Okay? So plan ahead, and I'm going to talk about academics in just a minute, okay? And then start early. So for some of you guys, it's freshman year of high school, and you're getting a good leg up on it, and you're used tonight, but all of you parents, no matter if you're getting ready to be a senior or you're a freshman, God bless you for being here. Start as early as possible in the process. Get organized, make sure that you're planning ahead, thinking about it. Go take a trip this summer as you do maybe a vacation. Go to a college campus and walk around, or take a campus tour. That's okay, that stuff is great. It's good to get exposure to college campuses. All right, so let's talk about scholarship examples. I'm going to show just a couple here. This young man was a 6'5", left-handed pitcher from Pensacola, Florida, threw about 83 miles per hour, and got a little bit of fringe Division I interest, but he signed a full scholarship to a junior college in Mississippi. Full scholarship. Okay, so school sold, completely paid for. Parents are totally happy. And this is a lefty pitcher throwing about 83, 84 miles per hour. Okay, in a couple years, he can either go to Division I, go to Division II, go to the draft, whatever he's going to do. He got a bunch of his school paid for really, really quickly. Okay, so it's a good example. Okay, here are just a couple of them, and I'm going to just walk over here so I don't screw this up completely. Place like I'm gonna pick on some guys. You in the hat right there, the white hat. Okay, how many full scholarships does the University of Oklahoma have for their entire roster for football? Do you know?
No.
Okay, does anybody know?
50.
Huh?
I'm guessing 15.
No, more than that.
30.
You don't get the answer, Coach. You know this. Anybody else want to guess? Coach, what's the answer? 85 scholarships at the University of Oklahoma in football. Okay, good job. All right, now that's their entire roster. Okay, their roster is going to have about 110 to 115 guys on the roster. Okay, what do you call the guys that are girls that are not on scholarship? Walk-ons. Okay, and the walk-ons that arrive for fall camp early, what do you call those kinds of walk-ons? Prefer walk-ons. Okay, you can only start for football, and I can talk any sport, but since we got a bunch of football boys here, we'll talk football soon. You can only start fall camp with how many players? Anybody know the answer to that? You know this one, Coach? Okay, you can only start fall camp with 105 players. So you have 85 scholarship, 20 preferred walk-ons. So then the first day of school, you can add as many additional walk-ons as the school allows. It's typically just based on how big their locker room is, or how many they want to manage for, their helmets and shoulder pads and everything else. Because a lot of times, first day of school, you got 28 kickers that want to come in. So sometimes that's not the best thing to do. Okay, no offense to you kickers. Okay? I have plenty of kickers that I've worked with. All right. So Division II, a place like UCO. Okay, let's get really practical here. How many of you know a guy that's played at UCO, Southwestern, SMU, OBU? You know anybody? Raise your hand if you know anybody that played at any one of those schools. Southeastern, Langston, Northwestern Oklahoma. Yes, yes. You know somebody played at all schools? Yeah, 36 scholarships. Their roster's still about 120 guys on their roster at minimum. So that is kind of like the family budget. There's only so much to go around each month, right, Dad? You got to pay the mortgage, you got to pay the motorcycle off, you got to put food on the table. Every once in a while, I want to go to a movie. Sometimes I want to go to Chipotle. Like, you know, it's that kind of thing, right? And you have to manage your budget. They have to do the same thing. 36 full scholarships in football, as an example. That's it, guys. That's it. Okay? So it kind of works like the salary cap in the NFL, right? Some guys get more than other guys. I could talk about that all day long, okay? You don't have any girls soccer players in the room. There's Division I, they have 14 full scholarships. That's it. Roster is going to be about 35 girls, okay? Division II basketball on the women's side, 10. 9 in Division II soccer, roster of 35 to 40, okay? 11.7 in Division I baseball. That's it. They have a roster of 40 guys. 3,000 guys went into the portal in Division I baseball last year. 3,000. Okay? Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to paint the picture of what recruiting looks like today in 2022. Okay? And now we're going to get into the fun stuff, which is how do we solve this problem? Okay? This is just examples for you guys. All right. Here we go. 6 steps that I always try to tell parents and recruits to really think about. This would be good. If you have a pen and paper, this is the time to take notes or put it in your phone, because I'm going to give you plenty of, or take screenshots, because this is the time when you're going to probably want to take some notes. All right, let's check through the first thing. First thing, academics. Okay, you have to have, let's start with the basics. Everybody should understand this, and every parent should understand this. Okay? You have to have 16 core classes that you have to pass. This is a requirement. No ifs, ands, or buts. Any school in the country, this is how it works. I'm totally killing you. No, you're good. Sorry. Okay? You have to have 16 core classes. 4 English, 3 math, 2 science, physical or natural, an additional math, science, or English, 2 social science, 4 additional courses, or a foreign language. Okay? No tiddlywinks, no art, no off-season football. That does not count. You have to have 16 core classes. So when coach tells you, or your counselor tells you, you have to take this, this is why. Okay? You have to just be eligible to play, not to get any aid, just to be eligible, you have to have a minimum of a 2.3. Please do not use this as the North Star. But just 2.3 is the minimum, and a sum of your individual test scores of 75 on the ACT. Most of you won't take the SAT in Oklahoma. Okay, so that's why I use the ACT. Okay? This is absolutely the bare minimum. Now, how do we attack this problem? First of all, start early, especially for you guys who are freshmen and sophomores. Make sure that you're working with your coaches and your guidance counselors to have a plan of attack for this. You can actually find all of this on NCAA.org. It's very publicly available, and they use a tool. The compliance offices at each of these schools use a tool called the sliding scale. The higher your GPA, the lower your test score has to be. The higher your test score, the lower your GPA. So that's sliding scale. Okay, novel concept. Okay, so it's publicly available information. Again, NCAA.org, you can find it, so you can actually do the math. Every grade level, an A is worth 4, a B is worth 3, C is worth 2, and they run an equation, and that's how they come up with the, the core GPA, okay? Really simple, okay? You can actually do it for you, okay? If you were to go on a college visit, you have to have your transcript sent to the school. You have to have it on file because they have to see, are you eligible or on pace to be eligible before you actually visit. So when college coaches request your transcript, that was hard for me right there, request your transcript, tongue twister tonight, that's why, because they have to be able to show their compliance officer that little Johnny is on pace to be qualified, okay? Let me give you guys a target, though, okay? Here's where the magic of recruiting really happens, okay? Magic magic of recruiting really happens if you guys, and some of you guys are older and this is difficult to move your GPA. For those of you that are young, for you parents that really want to have some ammunition after this, you can thank me later, take checks or by mail or in person or PayPal. You need to be aiming for a 3.75 and a 25 on the ACT. You do that, we can get you in any school in the country. Pretty much. To play sports. Now, you know, you're going to be borderline at Vanderbilt, you're going to be borderline at Stanford, borderline at MIT, but they've got exceptions, and you're going to be close enough that they could get you into school, okay? So first of all, if you get that level of grades, we can get you accepted into just about any school. That's the first thing. Number two, a 25 is where a lot of the academic money starts to get really interesting. Thank you for nodding your head. Because it gets really interesting at about a 25. I will give you guys an example. I had an all-state defensive lineman from Hinton this year. 6'2", 255, 265, played 5 sports. I don't even know where he's going to play in college. He's a D lineman or a center or a tackle or a tight end or a fullback. I don't even know what he'll be, but he's a something. And he had a 26 ACT 4.0, and he between his football and his academics, he has a full scholarship to East Central and Ada. Okay, 60% of his aid came from academics, and the other 40% came from football, and it costs $13,000 a year. Okay, so that is like the perfect scenario for a good old all-state Oklahoma football kid. And he had several different opportunities, but that one is a great story to tell you. Like, he got more money in academics than he did in football, okay? And so you guys, when you go back to that 36 scholarships, that's tapped. That academic money, as long as you get to control that, guys. That doesn't, you control how talented, how much you study, how much work you put into it. And I would argue that you're probably not studying as much time as you're spending watching film and working out. I'm being honest, because I didn't either. So I'll just poke at myself. All right. What's this? Evaluations. All right. So we spent a lot of time about this earlier, kind of talking about how your coaches can help you. Let me give you kind of a peek into kind of the world of evaluations. So first of all, I mean, you're either a dude or you're not. Your video does not lie. Okay. You need to have the best 5 to 10 plays on the front end of your huddle film. I can watch a guy in 3 or 4 plays. I've evaluated thousands of prospects. It does not take long. I do not need a 10-minute highlight video with Drake on it. Like, don't stop. It's ridiculous. Okay, 90 seconds is the max you need. Okay, and if you can't put 10 studly plays on film, you probably don't need to play college football. Okay, right? So it doesn't need to be long, because the highlight video is just to get their attention. It's not to offer you. No one would offer you off of a highlight video. Okay? They're going to talk to coach. They're going to come out and see you play. They're going to see you at camp. They're going to talk to trusted advisors. They're going to do whatever. Okay? That video just gets you the first thing. Okay? That's the way to think about the highlight video. Okay? That's all it is. Okay? In some sports, football specifically, there are companies that actually evaluate athletes, and you don't even know who they are. There are 2 big ones. One's called Catapult. I used to work for them, and one's called National Preps. They evaluate athletes all the time. They grade them. You have no influence over that grade. Coach has no influence over it. They're totally independent third-party people, and they sell their evaluations and data to college coaches all over the country. So if you're Nick Saban or Mike Gundy or Brooke Venables, and you want to look at the top 9th graders in the country, these companies do it. They source all sorts of information, and they have dudes drive around in vans looking at all sorts of kids at middle school camps and all sorts of crazy stuff, okay? And high school camps and so forth. Camps, showcases, games. Don't see a lot of coaches coming to games. You should probably expect that. If you play a sport like travel baseball, you might see some of that, or AAU basketball, or maybe a travel softball. Some of that does happen in some of those sports because they don't recruit through the high school coaches as much. But in football, for you guys, they're not going to be at your games, most likely, because they're playing around the same time. They might come. I mean, in the years you've been coaching, how many times have you seen a college coach come to an actual game? Doesn't happen very often.
The COVID year was different because the
Yeah,
teams weren't playing.
sure.
So
handful, it's every once in a while, just all the stars have to line up, and they gotta be home, and you gotta be in their neck of the woods, and don't ever, I mean, I just would go into, don't ever plan to see a college coach at one of your games. But where they want to see you is at camp. They want to see you at camp. So if you're planning vacation this summer, parents, I'm just going to tell you, first 2 weeks of June, those in the world of college football, just block it on your calendar. Your son probably needs to be at a camp. They're going to try to go play. They don't need to be at a camp every day. They need to be at a couple of camps in the summertime in June, and maybe one or two in July. And yeah,
I would say this too, when you're talking about the highlight film, they have access to all of our Huddle. So every game film that we put on Huddle, college coaches can look at anytime they want. Like Huddle gives them free license to look at anyone. So the highlight film gets their attention, but then after that, they're searching for game film. Your game film better back up your highlight.
yeah, so I'll tell you what we would do. We wouldn't offer a kid unless we've at least watched 2 full games, every single play of every game. On a lineman, we might not watch the second half of a high school kid as a lineman because sometimes they play 2 full plays. But we're definitely watching 2 full games before we offer a kid. So it's like, you don't know which games they're going to pick. They might pick your best competition. They might pick a game you lay an egg. You have no idea. Okay, so I mean, it's every game you've got to be on your, on your best behavior and best performance, so to speak. So that coach is exactly right. And they're not going to offer you off of your highlight film. That just gets their attention. Now, if you're a dude and you look like Adrian Peterson, okay, but that's pretty easy to figure out. Like, I saw a kid, and I didn't know anything about him, but I saw this kid, and I have a company that I kind of partner with in Alabama, and he put one clip on Facebook of one kid. I was like, yeah, that kid's that's a Power 5 Division I that defensive lineman. It's pretty easy. Like, the kid looks like a unicorn. Okay, he's 6'4" and 260, and he's 17. Okay, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that kid looks different than most people walking through the doors. But by and large, like, they're not going to offer a kid unless you are, unless they watch 2 complete games of film, at least 2. Okay, just as a rule, especially in football. They're going to want to see you at camp. Okay, so those of you guys that are running track, playing baseball, wrestle, whatever. Some of you guys might do golf. Make sure that you're preparing for summer camps. Have you talked to coach about your start? Have you practiced the L drill? Have you gone through the 5-10-5, or pro agility, depending on what you guys call it? Have you practiced your broad jump? Have you practiced your vertical leap? It's the underwear Olympics at camp in a lot of cases, right? So if you're not practicing those things, how do you think you're going to do at camp? It's kind of like if you didn't prep for the ACT, what do you think is going to happen? You might be a freak of nature to be able to perform, but you're not preparing for that stuff. What do you expect? Okay? Hey, Coach knows this. This is not scripted. I didn't even know what I was going to tell you, but he'll know exactly what drills you need to do. Or you can just reach out and I'll tell you. You can look it up online. It's not difficult to find out. But a lot of guys will go to camp and they're just not prepared. It happens all the time. Okay? Or they do dates back to back. Never do a camp on back-to-back days. I don't care if it's your favorite. Don't go back-to-back days. Your body's not ready for it. You're not prepared for it. And most of you guys don't need to go to the Venables or the Montgomery camp. Most of you don't. Now, if you want to go and get the selfie with the mullet, go for it. But most of you don't have any business going there. Sorry to burst your bubble. Okay. Now, let's talk about education. Tonight's a great step. You're getting educated on recruiting. Okay. Every one of you guys should download and print off the recruiting calendar for the sport you play. It is super easy to find. This is an example of one. It tells you the contact periods, when coaches can be on the road, when they can't be on the road, when's the dead period, meaning they can't be on the road and you can't go see them, when you can go see them but they can't come see you. There's lots of different things. I'm trying to make this super simple. There are terms that go with it in what they call contact periods. Every one of these sports has a recruiting calendar with dates when they can have certain levels of contact. Okay? Again, public information, NCAA.org, super easy to find. Okay? Again, since we've got a bunch of football guys in here, I will give you one that's coming up super quick. April 15th through the end of May is an evaluation period in football. That means that college coaches will contact coach, and they will figure out your practice schedule, and they will be coming out to watch you guys in whatever drills that you guys are doing. They may not be out here every single day of the week. You will have no idea of knowing when those coaches are coming, but they will come all spring, right? Yep. So they've scheduled dates when they're coming. They know their dates when they're coming, okay? This is not happenstance, okay? They have a whole plan of when they're going. Because most college coaches, guys, hit between 6 and 10 high schools every single day in the spring. So they're literally, he's going to go from here, and he's going to Kingfisher. He's going to Kingfisher, then he's going to Karcher. Those three schools. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's going to, he's going from here to, Edmond North, and then to Coach Wyatt at Edmond Santa Fe. Like they're going down the road to go see as many guys as they can. They're looking at the class of 23. They're getting an early peak on the 24s and the 25s. Okay, so they are multi-year recruiting all the time. So that is a near-term one. Okay, you should understand this recruiting calendar. I mean, it should be copied off and put on your refrigerator so that you know when and how you can communicate with coaches. Okay. For you football guys, do you know when a coach can actually start to communicate to you? Do you have any idea? It is September 1st of your junior year. If you all want a college scholarship, shouldn't you all know when they can actually reach out to you? Okay, so I want you guys to take ownership of getting educated. You should know when you can contact coaches, when they can contact you. And I'm not talking about you're getting a mass email to come to the OBU camp with 500 dudes. That isn't recruiting. That is marketing for camp. Okay, no offense, because I've been there. I bet some GA's got to eat. Okay, so I get it. All right, but I'm talking about they know you by name. Okay, and it becomes really personal. So you can absolutely find the recruiting calendars for the NCAA and the NAIA. It's public information. All of you guys should get familiar with it. All right. Communication and social media. All right. So let's talk through this. This is just a good example. This image has been pushed all throughout social media. Just a good example of like how to set up a Twitter account. 97% of college coaches have a Twitter account. Let me start there. Okay, so it's a really helpful tool. Parents, some of you guys aren't even on Twitter. You probably should be because your kids are on Twitter. So you probably should be because you should see what they're looking at and the nonsense they're doing. If not, you should make sure that you have, and kids will hate me for this, you should have access to their social accounts so you can actually see what college coaches are saying to you. I know every one of you guys are rolling your eyes. That's fine. That's okay. I'm a dad. It happens. Okay, this is a great way that they communicate. Okay. All right, so when it comes to communication, let me talk through the roles here, okay? So coaches, their role is they're going to be the primary interface to college coaches. They're going to be fielding questions about academics, character, how you treat the janitor, are you on time, are you early to practice, your athletic ability, your measurables, any kind of, character flaws. Did you have any criminal incidents? Any other domestic? Guys, I'm telling you, they do their homework. This is not like a trivial thing, right? It's like an FBI investigation if they're really doing the work. Now, there's some sloppy recruiting and some college coaches that don't work with high school coaches, which I don't advocate. So there is some of that, unfortunately, that happens. But the good ones will communicate to the coaches, and he's not going to lie. He's not going to lie. He's not going to lie. Their reputations are on the line, okay? If they say that little Johnny can play at Oklahoma, and he goes to Oklahoma and lays an egg, the next guy that can play at Oklahoma probably gets penalized because he put his reputation on the line, okay? Because then they can't take his word for it. And so they're not going to do that, okay? Okay, they know better than to do that because you can kind of blackball yourself as a high school coach on kids if you kind of overpromise their athletic ability. If that makes sense to parents, okay? And as a guy, okay? So you're gonna shoot them straight, right, coaches? This is the way this works, okay? All right. You are the primary communicator. Mommy does not need to be managing your Twitter account. Sorry, Mom. Okay? You need to be able to have adult conversations that don't include GIFs and emojis and memes. Okay? Yes, sir. No, sir. Eye contact. Look the part. Dress for success at school. From April 15th to May 31st, there could be a college coaches here. Should you wear a hoodie that day? Should you wear baggy shorts? I'm just saying, if Coach Gundy comes through here, if you really want to go to OSU and you're dressed with a hoodie and the baggy shorts, maybe he thinks that's okay. But if you just had jeans on and polo or a nice shirt, like, I don't know. But it's not about clothes, don't take it that way. But I'm just saying, like, your job is to give the first impression, because guess what? Coach isn't running 40s in college, and your parents aren't running 40s in college, okay? So you are. So you have to learn how to have adult conversations, and you have to put the work in. That means you have to learn, which you can't probably do it without a little bit of help, but maybe how to reach out to a coach, how to leave a voicemail with the coach to say, hey, Coach, I'm coming to camp this week. Just wanted to let you know. Just leave a voicemail. It's okay. People communicate on the phone and not text. It's a novel concept, I know. But like things like that, right? Or, email's a little bit overblown because college coaches get inundated, but it's okay to say, hey, Coach, I'd like to come for an unofficial visit. When could I schedule that with the recruiting department? Or, is there a time when you're hosting juniors for junior day, or whatever the question may be? Or I'd like to find out about the business department because I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my own business like my dad does. So I'm interested in your school because you have good entrepreneurial program. Okay? It's okay to ask those questions, but you as a player have to put that work in. The parents can't do that, and the coaches can't do that. And you have to show some personality, and don't be robotic with it. It's okay to ask questions, okay? And it's okay to ask help when you're having communication. Parents, your job is to help them be able to have adult conversations with people, with grown men and women that you do not know, okay? They're going to talk to adults that you have no idea, okay? And good or bad, college coaches are really good at creatively leaving out information. I'm not going to say they lie. I'm going to pause and say they're really good, because I did this, really good at leaving out information, okay? You're number one on our board, man. You're my guy, number one on my board. You are number one on my board, man, okay? What they didn't tell you is I have 10 number ones on my board. So they didn't lie to you. They just have 10 number ones on the board, okay? So it's hard because you hear, I'm number one. And you heard, I'm number one, okay? And what he said is, I got 10 number ones, okay? So as parents, you have to understand that that's a little bit of the game that's played. I was talking to a personnel guy, and I said, okay, we're going to take 3 O linemen at East Carolina this year. How many are you offering? He said, I'm offering at least 30 O linemen. 30 for 3 spots. 10 per spot. Okay? So it's not just 10, you're number one. It's 30, you're number one. Okay? You have to understand that as a parent. Okay? That's the little dirty side of the recruiting part that nobody really wants to talk about. All right, and then there's some trusted advisors. I would keep your recruiting circle small. The kids and the parents that I work with, I'm able to do this. I would say be careful. You don't need a lot of people involved in your circle of trust. And guess what? Not everybody needs to know your business when it comes to recruiting. That should be a really private conversation. Mom, dad, coach. Boy, the list drops pretty fast right there. Nobody needs to know your business. Maybe your counselor or principal, but you need to keep it. And really, your buddies don't. You need to keep that to yourself, okay? Because things will change. Circumstances will change. You might have to make a different decision. Life changes, etc. Okay? Kids, guys that are sitting in the room, become a really good communicator. It'll help you in life. You can communicate. Email is not some super formal thing. Writing complete sentences on a text message is not a novel concept. Not using GIFs, emojis, and memes is okay. You can write out sentences. Use good punctuation. Don't call the coaches, hey coach, call them by their name. They all have a first name and a last name. Last time I checked, you have a first and last name. Treat them with respect the same way. Be smart on social media. If you wouldn't want grandma to see it, you don't need to be liking it. Okay? I mean, I'm talking R-rated language, naughty songs, pictures, images. Stay away from politics. Just stay away from any controversial topic. I would just tell all of you guys now. It's not worth it, really. I mean, as much as, and parents, the same thing applies. Okay? Okay? Don't gripe. Okay? The other thing, coach can give me a 20 when I'm done saying this next thing. Don't gripe about officials, and don't gripe about coaches on social media. Okay? Because they're watching you too. Okay? So, listen, we're all humans. People make mistakes. Okay? There's calls that you'd love to. I wish I wouldn't have called that. You've had that happen a million times, right? We've all had it, right? You've also screwed up something at work too. So you've had it too. So you're not perfect either. So don't gripe about coaches. Don't gripe about officials. Stay away from all that stuff. It's always positive. Okay? And don't believe everything you read on Twitter or social media because it's kind of make-believe land anyways. We all kind of know that, but I'm just going to tell you, just make sure that whatever you put out there is positive. They inspect it, okay? They have software that actually looks at your followers. They have software that looks at all of your likes, all of your retweets, all of your tweets, okay? So I can promise you they're running algorithms based on your personality and who you're following and the things that you're engaging with, okay? So you got to be really smart when it comes to social media, okay? So I'm kind of giving you I'm just peeling the curtain back to tell you kind of this is how they do their inspection, okay? Think about them as like FBI agents because, again, you're trying to get one of those handful of spots for every position. You got to do something to kind of separate yourself, okay? And this is a great example of how to set up a Twitter profile. If you've not done it, I would highly encourage you to try to do that. All right. Tech and services. Listen, guys, the first thing is, last time I checked, email is free. YouTube is free. Huddle is free to them. You pay for it. There's a bunch of questionnaires that are free that every college coach has. Direct messages are free. Use free technology. Use it. It's okay. Okay? Use free technology. Okay? There are some things that are out there. I'm not going to poo-poo on all of them. Just be smart when it comes to tech and all that kind of stuff. We use some of it. I'll be the first to say, but I don't make it like it's not everything that we do. Okay? So you got to be a really good communicator. You got to be a good person, a good student athlete, and you better have some genetics in you, and then you got a shot, right? But be smart with tech and be smart with kind of third parties and services. There are some that I recommend, and there are some that I don't, and I'm happy to take that offline one-on-one with each of you guys. Do your homework, but be really good at a bunch of free things that are out there. Okay? All right. Performance. We talked about it. Coach said he does an exit interview with each one of you. He's giving you specific things that you need to improve on. Right, guys? Or raise your hand. He gave you specific things for you to work on and improve on. Okay? So you got to learn to become a 12-month student athlete if you're going to go to college. Okay? That doesn't mean you have to play football 12 months of the year. You just have to become a 12-month student athlete. Okay? And that's hard when you're 15, 16 years old to how to manage. You want to go on spring break, and that ski trip sounds really fun, and then I want to go to Falls Creek, and then I want to do this, and I get all that, okay? But you've got summer pride, you've got 7-on-7, you've got track, you've got wrestling, you've got all these things that you can be doing to make you a well-rounded student athlete, okay? And I would tell you, take it, as you balance kind of life, social, academics, football, or whatever sport you play, make sure that you're playing that. Some of you will use outside instruction. You want a speed coach or whatever. That's fine and that's cute. Your coaches will know what to do. You don't even need that stuff most of the time. Okay? I mean, parents sometimes like that, and I get all that because maybe you're at a facility that isn't open at a certain time and you need some of that kind of stuff. I get all that. That's fine. But I would just tell you, be smart. Have that open dialogue with your high school coaches here. They're ready to invest in you and they're ready to help you. And you've got a lot of opportunity here to kind of do that. But you've got to learn to become a kind of a 12-month student athlete. The sooner that you learn how to do that, that'll make that jump to college easier for you, okay? If If you just say, hey, I'm gonna work out only when I'm with coach, you're gonna only maximize your performance so much, okay? But, I'm sure Coach sort of said you got full access to Hub. How many of you watched film this week? Anybody watch film this week? You did? Good, you're the one guy. You did? Okay. Okay. But parents don't count right now, okay? So 2 guys watch film this week. Oh, yeah, well, it does. You watch cat videos, thank you, I did too. I'm kidding. But there's always something that you can do, and so you gotta learn to become a 12-month student athlete, okay? The sooner you do that, the better off you'll be. Consult with your coaches, they're gonna know. Diet, sleep, guarantee none of you are sleeping enough. You're all in Fortnite at 1 a.m., okay? You gotta get good sleep, you gotta eat right, right? Okay? All right. Let me wrap up with this, okay? I'm almost done, and then I'm gonna take questions. I went a little longer than I thought, but I was trying to hit on a couple points. First of all, keep the main thing the main thing, okay? There's a bunch of junk, a bunch of garbage out there, okay? Focus on the priorities of recruiting. Academics, really good character, be the best player you can be at Piedmont High School. If you do those things, the other stuff will come, okay? Just take care of your business right now. The second thing is, when you're thinking about college, I want you to think about it through this lens. Okay, we use this moniker all the time when I was at TCU. I want you to plan your degree, the location, all of that kind of stuff based on a school that could make an impact for the next 40 years of your life. And you're an old fart like coach or your parents, okay? Not me, because I'm young, okay? When you're an old fart like your parents, okay? I want you to pick a school that has an impact on the next 40 years of your life, not the next 4 years of your life. Because guess what? You can get hurt. I had a kid sign with Tulsa a couple years ago, was a gray shirt, which I won't even go into what that means. You can ask Coach later if you want to. And he was, number 2 tight end, was played against Oklahoma, blah, 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 5th game of the season, playing Tulane. He got kind of sideswiped, snapped his femur, and tore up his shoulder on the same play. Like, snapped and fell and blew out his shoulder at the same time. He never played again. He was 6'7", 235, redshirt freshman, had the whole thing, the whole future in his life in front of him. He never played it down again, guys. And so you got to pick a place that can have an impact on the next 40 years of your life, okay? I said it earlier, be realistic, okay? It's okay. Go play college football at UCO or Southwestern or Oklahoma Baptist, you are still in the top 5% of the country, okay? That is a big, big deal, okay? Nobody should ever look down at anybody for getting an opportunity to. If you play volleyball at Redlands, if you play baseball at Connors, dude, that is tough sled to do, and it's okay. So be realistic about it. And then, I'll tell you, and I didn't script any of it tonight, okay? Your coaches are here to help you, okay? They are absolutely here to help you. The fact that they opened their doors, and they didn't have to, they could be at home watching reruns of Naked and Afraid. I don't know what coach does on the weekends, okay? But I'm just telling you, I'm sorry. You do that, that's you. Okay, my wife does too, it's kind of weird, but whatever. You guys should meet. All right, but my point is, like, your coaches would be here if they didn't care, okay? So use them, leverage them, okay? They're here to help you, okay? But you got to be grounded where you're at right now. Keep the main thing, okay? And that is, be the very best player and student athlete and great character person you can be at Piedmont High School. If you do that, the rest will take care of itself. It really will. You go be the best teammate, and everything will take care of itself. All right, real quick, I'll just touch on this. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. We do a couple different things. We work with coaches and athletic departments and whatnot with our Teams Route opportunity. And so that is not really for the parents and the kids, but we work through the coaches, helping you guys get all the tools and content and so forth. We have different subscriptions for kids that are in the transfer portal. Our most popular is what we call Recruit Route Elite. It's where I basically serve as your Sherpa through the whole journey of recruiting. So if you guys have questions about those kinds of things, there are brochures up here. There's a little card. If you would hold that up, sir, that little card. No, the other little card, sorry. That one, yeah, that one. If you want me to follow up with you, fill that card out, and I will happily call you this week and follow up with you guys. But happy to answer questions, but we're kind of specialized here in the States, so if you can help, let us know. All right, whoops, real quick. I was going to put my card's over there too, if you want my contact information. Now's the time you guys get to grill us and ask me questions. Coaches can ask questions, parents, but I'm going to start with the players first. don't jump at once, but questions on anything I covered tonight? Not all at once? This gets really boring fast if nobody asks me questions.
You talked about the importance a little bit about,
Yeah? I mean, there's tons of data out there, but I would tell you, you look at the Super Bowl as an example, and most of the guys, less than like 5% of the guys that played the Super Bowl didn't play multiple sports. So, it's a huge deal. It's a massive deal when you think about multi-sport athletes. There's an inside joke going around somewhere, but I'll catch up later.
Tyson quit track.
Okay, well, this is all about you, so Tyson, no. Okay. Tyson has joined the chess team. Okay, welcome to the chess team, Tyson. All right. All right. Yeah, well, so we're all going to work for Tyson down the road. That's what you're really telling us. No, so I would tell you, it can have a material impact. I'll give you, I was telling Coach this earlier, let me give you a very real example. So I had a young man that I work with that will be a 3-year starter at Bixby. They won a few games of late, as I recall, 46 in a row. This young man was up at the Naval Academy this weekend at Navy. And honestly, I didn't think he was an offerable guy at that level, I'll be honest. I'd probably tell him that too. I think I actually have. But hey, you get invited and they're wanting you to come for junior day. He went with his parents. And the defense coordinator is a friend of mine. Coach knows him as well. He's from Oklahoma. He loves recruiting Oklahoma kids. And he called me in the middle of junior day. And he said, what can you tell me about this young man? And I said, Ryan, I don't know if he's quite twitchy enough for you, but he's a heck of a player. If you're a starter at Bixby, you're doing something right, really productive. He starts both ways. But I don't know if he's quite athletic enough for you. But let me tell you what I do know about him. Brother played college football at Pittsburgh State. He's got a 3.8 GPA, and he was he wrestled at 152 and finished in 3rd or 4th in the state at 152. So it's all you know. So the kid who was in the top 5 in the state of Oklahoma wrestling, that's a tough son of a gun. Okay, I'll give you another example. Some of you guys may know or have heard of Jocelyn Malaska, who's the corner at Bethany. Last year, receiver at Bethany. Joe was one of my kids, signed with Utah last year. Baylor coaches flat out called and said, you need to run track and don't, he played soccer because he's from Haiti. And Joe's like, I've never run track before. He's like, no. Like, we're not offering you to run track. You need to run at least, we won't even look at you unless you run sub-11 and 100. And really in Baylor, it's like sub-10, 8, and 100. And really at a place like TCU, they were playing so much man. It was like a 10-6, 10-7, and 100 at corner. So, yeah, absolutely. And then your big guys as linemen. I had a kid a couple years ago, Aiden Kelly, who's at Oklahoma State now, was an All-American defensive lineman, 6'2", 290. And I had the TCU coaches come up and see him in January before COVID. And they watched his basketball practice, and here he is bullying dudes as a forward in Class A basketball. But they could really see the kind of athletic ability and talent he is from the way that he blocked out and pushed guys and all that kind of stuff. So it can make a huge difference, Coach. So big proponent of be playing. And then let me just say this: one of these days you're going to be an old fart like the rest of us, and you're going to be like, I wish I would play more sports. Okay. So if you just do it for that reason alone, you should play all the sports in the world. But it does have a huge advantage from a recruiting standpoint. So thanks for receiving the question. All right, what are the parents? It's time for you guys to ask questions. Mom or dad, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a sophomore going to be a junior, so should I put him in the NCAA portal now and have his transcript?
Yeah.
Now?
So good question. So every student athlete or prospective student athlete that wants to play at a Division I or Division II school has to register, well, there's different ones for Division III and AI, but in general, let me make this as easy as I can. It's called the Eligibility Center, and it's $90. There's no way around it, Mom and Dad, it just costs $90. It's the NCAA's, boondoggle. The answer is yes. So you'll get an ID number, and that stays with you and follows you all the way through college. And so, yeah, I mean, if you are fairly confident that he's going to play in college and you got $90 in the pocket, might as well
He's
do
not
it.
playing football.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to need to do it at some point in time, so whenever that is. I mean, you don't have to do it, but yeah, whenever, the sooner the better.
Okay.
Because you're going to need an ID number on file, because that kind of follows you when you start to take visits. So, yeah,
And
so,
then coaches, they can go right past that easy way for them to just go in and see the grades, right?
yeah, because your ACT scores in the school, it'll all kind of follow you once you have an ID number. Yes, ma'am.
And go back on that ACT, I know you said 27 is good, so like.
I say 25.
25.
That's where I say, like, you want to get the money with academic money. I'm not saying that, like, don't hold me to, like, every school is that way, but I would tell you, by and large, you get 375 and a 25, you're going to have some cash coming in from an academic scholarship at that point. Anything below that doesn't mean you might not get some, but it might not be significant.
But focus on that ACT where we could maybe get a little bit more.
Yep. So there are test prep. One that I have a parent using right now is called Omega. There are a bunch of different hired agencies that do test prep and specifically on that. So it's worth investigating if that's something that you want to do. Also, if you have a learning disability, my daughter is on an IEP or a 504, make sure that you've had that conversation for accommodations. I'll give you very real, like we're dealing with this as a family right now, and for you coaches, I want you to know this. My daughter is on an IEP. We had an accommodation written in her IEP. Our meeting with the school was in January or February. ACT required that be on file before December, so the school dropped the ball. So my daughter went to school today planning to take it in a private classroom, and the ACT told her, no, you gotta take it, and you gotta do it in time limit, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure who screwed that up. If that was Westmore or the ACT, but we'll get to the bottom of that later this week. But just make sure when you look at some of those things like 504 and IEPs, if you have one of those, that you're really buttoned up, because that's a lesson learned as a dad. I thought they had it buttoned up. Let's just say I was a little perturbed earlier today, because my daughter was all prepared for a plan, and then at 8:10, we had to kind of do a left turn, and that was not ideal this morning. So I'm sure she had a crappy experience, I'll just tell you that right now. So that living through some of that parenting thing. Go ahead, more questions, parents? Yes, sir.
So thank you for pointing out that academics and character are number one. Starting with, I guess, some of the things that you talked about.
Yep.
What is the number one thing that we do to help our students with whenever we leave here tonight? What's step one that we should be doing?
Well, that you can control and do. Well, I mean, I'm going to give you a couple. I'm going to give you three things to do. The first is, make sure that you're on pace with your core classes, and you have that you're meeting the 16 core classes. That's something that you haven't looked at the transcript, you haven't started to talk about. I mean, you get to control that. Coaches will take a peek. If they got a lot of kids coming through and looking at a lot of transcript, you should take ownership of making sure that you're going to, that you've got the requirements from a core perspective. Parents, you could control that. That's one that you could have oversight in. Number two is I really want you guys to teach your sons and daughters how to have adult conversations without you there. You don't need to order the chicken nuggets for them. Okay? They can order their own dinner. They can carry their bag after practice, for God's sakes. Okay? All right? So they need to be able to have adult conversations without you there. And I mean, that's not means and gifts, and I'm serious about this. Like, practice. If you got an uncle, you got a cousin that you can role play with, do it. Teach them how to have adult conversations, because kids today, we've gotten so, everybody's got a phone in their pocket, and so they communicate off these dang things, and they don't really do a good job of verbal communication and or written communication. Okay? Can they write an essay without you there? Looking it up on Google, for God's conversation. So that's number 2. And then, number 3 is have a realistic conversation about your son or daughter's athletic ability. It's okay. That some of you might be able to play at Oklahoma State. I hope that I get to watch you play there, or Oklahoma, or Tulsa. But many of you won't. Many of you will play at Southwestern, or Harding, or Friends, or Ouachita, or Pittsburgh State, or Sterling, or Southern Nazarene, or ODU. Okay, and that's okay. You need to have an honest conversation about where we think we can play. You all know guys that have played there, and so you need to be able to have those honest conversations. Those would be the 3 things I would tell you as a parent that you can take some ownership of. Okay. Coach Schellenberg, did I miss anything tonight? Okay. Coach Fairborn, anything? We good? We're young at heart. Young at heart. Okay. Yes. Oh, let's get her first, and then I'll come to you. Yes, ma'am. Betty can tell you. First of all, I sent him a list earlier tonight, of pretty much every college camp in the country by date. So you can get that from Coach, because he's got it. Or you can go to recruitroute.com and just click on blogs. I think it's the second article, and it says master list of college camps, and it's on my website. So recruit-route.com, and then go to blogs in the menu, and then the second article is the college camp. So that's where the list is. But if you don't have, like, for all of my kids, because I evaluate all of them, and I'm going to say, you don't need to go there, you need to go here, you need to go, like, I'll give them that list. I'll kind of tell them where I think they should kind of target the types of schools, and so I'll give them like 10, say, hey, pick 5, pick 3 or 4 in June, and 1 or 2 in July, and then that's how I do it with my guys. I'm going to defer to him locally, if you're not one of my families, because he can tell you where you should spend your time. About $50 a camp, give or take a little bit. Or one day, they're literally the Underwear Olympics. You're going to do about 6 drills. You're going to do height and weight, and then you're going to do a little bit of position-specific stuff. If you're a young kid, I would envision you go to different camps at different levels. Like if you're a freshman or you're going to be a sophomore this year, and you want to get the t-shirt and take a picture with the mullet up in Stillwater, go to OSU camp this summer. Get it out of the way, go do it, take the selfie, you can put it on Facebook, all that kind of stuff, okay? And then go to the UCO camp, and then go to a couple different camps at a couple different levels, okay? Because you're going to see different talent and different capabilities and different sizes of camps, okay? Some of them are going to have lots of coaches, some will have a few coaches, some might have 600 kids, some might have 100. And then primarily, I'm going to tell you, go to college camps. Don't go to the rivals camp with 750 guys there, because that is a waste of money. Okay, if Prep Zone sends you one more graphic to come to their camp in January when you're not even ready and you're in basketball season, waste of money. Sorry, okay? Don't do that stuff. Don't go to the 5-star camp, okay? Go in June. You've had a whole track session. You've worked on your start. You've gone through spring football. You've been used to the competition, and then go to a college camp. Last time I checked, college coaches could offer you a scholarship. The guy who does blogging for 5-star and Prep Zone cannot offer you a scholarship, okay? Because guess what they're going to do? They're going to watch you on film, or they're going to watch you at their camp at Rivals, or Prep Star, or Prep Zone, or 5-star camp. And they're going to write an article, and then you're going to want to read the article, so then you're going to pay again to get a login access. So they're double dipping you. It's a racket, okay? Go to college camps. Ask him. And then you can find my list, and I've got every camp with every day from May 31st through the end of July. But great question. Thank you for asking. Anything else to add, Coach? Did I beat that horse to death? Okay. Yes, ma'am. You had a question for me.
Yeah, y'all were talking about it,
go to NCAA.org and look in, and, or you can just Google NCAA Eligibility Center. Once you're, it's freshman on.
You can, I think, or I don't know, what I read, you can be in the
Yes, ma'am.
NCAA at any time, but then going into their junior year, the summer of their junior year, you wanna get their number.
Correct.
Because that's where they're, they're gonna be able to get their.
You get every athlete will get an ID number. Yeah. So sophomore, early junior is about the right time. Okay? Anybody else? Coaches, did I miss anything tonight? Anything I should cover that I didn't cover? Coach, anything? You good? You good? Anybody else? Okay, all right, thanks for having me. I'll be around. If you want me to follow up with you parents, take that middle index card, and write your name and your email and your phone number, and I will call you this week, okay? If you just want on my newsletter, even you guys, if you want my newsletter, write your email down, I will put you in my newsletter. I won't hound you, but if you want that, okay? And thank you for coming tonight. Thanks, Matt and Austin, for having me.